You ever wonder why you said yes to something you didn't want? Why you trusted someone you barely knew? Why you felt guilty walking away from a situation that was clearly wrong for you? What if none of those choices were accidents? What if someone was quietly guiding your behavior, using techniques so subtle, so psychologically precise, that you never even felt the moment they entered your mind? Robert Cialdini spent decades studying influence. The kind that doesn't push you, it pulls you, gently, softly, almost invisibly. But like every psychological tool, there's a dark version. A version built not to persuade, but to control. Not to help, but to extract. Not to inform, but to bend your decisions around someone else's desires. So let me ask you something uncomfortable. Have you ever walked away from someone and realized the choice didn't feel like yours? Have you ever felt obligated without knowing why? Have you ever sensed a pressure that wasn't spoken, but felt just as real as a command? If your chest tightens at that thought, then you're already closer to the truth than most people ever get. Tonight, we're going to uncover the 7 signs someone is using Cialdini's dark influence on you. Not the kind you read in books, but the kind people use when they want access to your emotions, your trusts, your instincts, and every decision you make without ever raising their voice. Let's begin. You'll notice the first sign when someone makes you feel like you owe them something without ever asking for anything directly. That's how dark reciprocity works. Cialdini discovered that humans are wired to return favors. But the dark version of this principle? It creates a debt you never agreed to. It starts small. They do something for you you didn't need. A compliment you didn't ask for, a favor you didn't request. A gesture that feels a little too deliberate. And then suddenly the energy shifts. You feel pressure, not spoken, not visible, but real. Maybe they help you once, and now you feel guilty saying no to the next thing they want. Maybe they offer support, and now you feel compelled to give them time, attention, validation. Maybe they do something kind, but the kindness comes with a weight you can't explain. That weight is the trap. Pay attention to the moment after they do something for you. Do you feel genuinely grateful or quietly obligated? Because obligation is the emotional hook manipulators depend on. It's how they get you to agree to things you never wanted. It's how they get you to open up faster than you intended. It's how they blur boundaries until you forget you ever had any. Here's the part you need to hear. If a gesture creates pressure instead of comfort, it wasn't generosity, it was strategy. And if you've ever caught yourself doing something for someone, just because you didn't want to feel guilty, or rude, or ungrateful, someone has already tested your mind for weaknesses and found one. The next sign reveals itself when someone starts using artificial authority to make you trust them faster than they deserve. Cialdini called it the authority principle, and in its dark form, it doesn't look like power. It looks like confidence, certainty, and subtle superiority. They'll speak in a tone that makes disagreement feel foolish. They'll drop references to people they know, things they've learned, or experiences they've had, carefully crafted to place them slightly above you, just enough to make you question your own judgment. You'll notice it when they correct you gently, not aggressively, just enough to make you feel like they know something you don't. Maybe they say, "Trust me, I've dealt with this before," or "I've studied this stuff," or "Everyone usually comes to me for advice." It sounds harmless, but the goal is simple. Make you feel smaller so their opinion becomes louder. And here's the trap. Once someone convinces you they have more knowledge, more experience, more insight, you stop listening to your own instincts. You start asking them before making decisions. You start doubting yourself even when your intuition is screaming the right answer. A real authority doesn't need to prove anything, but someone using Cialdini's dark influence will always leave you feeling like they know better, even when they don't. Ask yourself, when you talk to them, do you feel educated or outsmarted, guided or steered, impressed or subtly controlled? Because false authority doesn't show up as power. It shows up as the quiet belief that your judgment isn't as strong as theirs, and that is exactly where the manipulation begins. You'll feel the next sign when someone creates a false sense of scarcity around themselves, their time, or what they offer. A classic Cialdini trigger, twisted into something darker. They make you believe access to them is rare, valuable, almost privileged, and suddenly you start putting them on a pedestal without realizing why. Maybe they act like they're always super busy, but somehow still make time for you, leaving you feeling special, chosen, prioritized, or they hint that other people don't get this side of me, subtly positioning you as the exception. It feels flattering, but it's strategic. Here's the part most people miss. Scarcity triggers urgency. It makes you afraid to lose connection, afraid to disappoint, afraid to miss out on something you think you won't find again. So when they ask for your time, you say yes. When they cross a boundary, you overlook it. When they pull away for a moment, you chase. Not because you want to, but because you fear the window is closing, and that fear isn't natural, it's engineered. Look at how you respond to other people. Do you feel this same panic, this pressure to hold on to them, this quiet anxiety when they take space? Or is it only with this one person? Because when scarcity is real, it's felt everywhere. But when scarcity is manufactured, it only exists where someone planted it, and that is the sign you're dealing with dark influence. You're not afraid of losing them. You're afraid of losing the version of connection they convinced you only they can give. Another sign appears when someone uses Cialdini's principle of commitment to lock you into choices you never consciously agreed to. This one is dangerous because it doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like responsibility. They start small, always small. A favor here, a promise there, a harmless agreement you didn't think much about. Maybe you said, "Sure, I'll help," or "Yeah, let me know," or even something as simple as, "I'll try." And they hold on to those words like a contract. Later, when they want something bigger, they remind you of what you said before. Not directly, but through subtle nudges. "You're always someone I can count on," or "You've already been there for me so much," or "You understand me better than anyone, remember?" Suddenly, saying no feels like betrayal. They're not forcing you. They're just framing your past choices in a way that makes backing out feel wrong. And that's the trick. Once you've committed to something small, your mind pushes you to stay consistent, even when the situation grows uncomfortable. Think about the last time you stayed in a conversation too long, agreed to plans you didn't want, or carried emotional weight that wasn't yours to hold, all because you felt you had already invested too much to pull away. That's not loyalty. That's psychological leverage. Someone using this tactic knows exactly how to get you to behave, not by demanding anything, but by reminding you of the person you told them you were. The moment your identity is used against you, the manipulation is already in motion. You'll recognize the next sign when someone starts using social proof against you. A darker twist on Cialdini's principle that people follow what others seem to approve of. Instead of influencing you openly, they subtly create the impression that everyone else agrees with them, supports them, or sees them the way they want to be seen. It's never blatant. It's hidden in small, calculated phrases like, "Most people understand what I mean," or "Everyone else I talk to thinks the same," or even, "People usually appreciate it when I do this." Those words do something powerful to your mind. They make you doubt your own perspective, not because you're wrong, but because humans are wired to avoid being the outsider. So when you disagree with them, you suddenly feel isolated, like you're the one misunderstanding, the one being difficult, the one who just doesn't get it. And the person using this strategy knows exactly how that insecurity works. They're not proving they're right. They're making you afraid of being the only one who's questioning them. Think about the last time someone made you feel like your reaction was unusual or exaggerated, but couldn't name a single person who genuinely supported their view. Or the last time you backed down, not because you changed your mind, but because you didn't want to be the one who made things awkward. That's social proof in its darkest form. Not real consensus, just the illusion of it, carefully created to make you second-guess your own instincts. You'll notice another sign when someone uses the power of liking. Not genuine connection, but the engineered version of it. To lower your guard, Cialdini showed how easily we trust people who mirror us, flatter us, or create the feeling of similarity. But in its dark form, this principle becomes a weapon. They make you believe you found someone who finally gets you, even when they're simply reflecting what you want to see. Pay attention to how quickly they praise you, how effortlessly they agree with you, how conveniently they share the same opinions, preferences, or wounds. It feels organic, almost magical, like you've met someone who speaks the same emotional language. But manipulation doesn't begin with conflict. It begins with comfort, because the moment you feel understood, you stop questioning motives. You stop doubting intentions. You stop noticing the inconsistencies that would normally protect you. Look back at the last time you opened up to someone faster than you usually do. The way your mind relaxed around them, the way their words wrapped around your insecurities just right, the way you felt safe without them ever earning it. That wasn't bonding. That was mirroring. And once you like someone, even the illusion of them, your brain becomes compliant. You start giving more, agreeing more, trusting more, not because they deserve it, but because you've been made to feel like the connection is real. The truth is simple. If someone makes you feel deeply seen before they've actually seen anything, you're not connected. You're being positioned. You'll see the final sign when someone uses Cialdini's principle of social pressure through small commitments to make you believe your choices were your own idea all along. This is the darkest version of influence because it doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like independence. They plant ideas gently, casually, like passing comments that somehow stick to your mind. You're the kind of person who always shows up. Or, I feel like you understand how important this is. Or, you've always been really supportive. They're not describing you. They're defining you. And once you accept that definition, you start acting in alignment with it without realizing why. You'll notice it when they make you feel like stepping back would contradict the person you claim to be. Suddenly, you're agreeing to things because you don't want to break the identity they projected onto you. You stay longer than you want to. You give more than you can. You tolerate behavior you'd normally walk away from, all because they subtly framed your compliance as a reflection of your character. Think about the last time someone said, "I knew you'd understand," before even telling you what they wanted. Or the last time you felt strangely compelled to help because they described you as reliable, kind, or always there. It wasn't your trait they were relying on. It was your need to stay consistent with the version of yourself they created. And once your identity becomes a cage, they don't need to push you anymore. You push yourself. That's the darkest layer of influence, when someone convinces you that the choices benefiting them are simply who you are. What you just heard isn't manipulation in the dramatic sense people imagine. It's the quiet kind, the kind that rewires your reactions, bends your boundaries, and makes you believe your choices were always your own. Dark influence doesn't steal your mind. It shapes it. It nudges it. It guides it in directions you never questioned because the pressure never felt like pressure. And that's exactly why it works. Most people never realize these tactics were used on them until years later. They blame themselves for being too trusting, too emotional, too sensitive, without understanding that their psychology was intentionally targeted. Cialdini didn't just reveal principles of persuasion. He revealed vulnerabilities in the human mind. And the people who use the dark version of those principles, they count on you not recognizing any of the signs until you're already obeying a script you didn't write. But awareness breaks that script. Awareness returns the mind to its rightful owner. Awareness makes you dangerous to anyone who built their power on your blindness. So if something in this resonated, if you felt the sting of recognition, the shift in your chest, the quiet realization that someone's influence wasn't as innocent as it seemed, then understand this. You're not easy to manipulate. You were simply unaware of the techniques being used on you. Now, you see the patterns, you know the tricks, you feel the difference between genuine connection and psychological engineering. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Not in them, not in anyone. Not ever again. Protect your mind and never let anyone else write your decisions for you.